It's a blazing afternoon on a federal prison yard. The air is heavy with dust, sweat, and the metallic tang of tension that never really leaves this place. Inmates cluster in corners of cracked concrete, some pacing, others playing cards, some staring at nothing. A pack of men fix their eyes on the newest target, a quiet, unassuming black inmate whose steady gaze and solitary routine read as weakness. To them, he's just another victim, a man stripped of freedom and dignity, too broken by the system to fight back. But appearances lie. This man is no ordinary inmate. He was once the most feared operator in Delta Force, leading missions into enemy territory that others wouldn't dare attempt. Each action precise, each outcome weighed in the cold balance of duty. Now framed for a crime he didn't commit, he's become a pawn in a larger game, and the gang has been hired to make sure he never lives long enough to uncover the truth. Their first mistake is assuming he's easy prey. Their second is forcing him to answer. As their threats escalate, the brittle equilibrium of the prison begins to tilt, setting up a clash that will ripple far beyond these walls. This won't be just a fight for survival. It will be a reckoning, exposing rot running through the system and proving that even in the darkest places, there are men who refuse to break. The man's prison ID says Marcus Cole. He keeps to himself, quiet during chow, never loud in the yard. He doesn't join card games or weightlifting crews. He walks the perimeter during rec, each step deliberate, as though the ground itself carries instructions he alone can read. To the gang watching him, that walk looks like isolation, like weakness. At their center is Monk, a tattooed brute with shaved head and eyes too cold for daylight. Monk rules the yard the way wolves rule a forest, through fear. He trades cigarettes for silence, favors for protection, and violence for loyalty. His crew, Lobo, Cray, and Tiny, who isn't tiny at all, move like shadows behind him. Monk smirks as he watches Marcus sit alone at a picnic table, head tilted slightly toward the sun. Fresh meat, he mutters. Doesn't even know the rules. Lobo grins, his gold tooth flashing. We'll teach him. Tonight, Monk replies. No cameras in the laundry hall after lights out. He'll learn his place. None of them realize Marcus already knows their plan. He's been watching. Every look, every gesture, every whisper. The prison is alive with patterns, and he reads them the way others read headlines. Dinner. The chow hall echoes with the scrape of trays and the low roar of 100 voices. Marcus moves through the line, calm, steady. He keeps his head down, but his eyes moving. Monk steps in front of him, blocking the line. He doesn't look back. He just plants himself there like a mountain. You're in my spot. Monk says loudly enough for the men around to hear. Marcus doesn't blink. Didn't know spots were assigned. Monk turns slightly, his lip curling. They are when I say they are. Marcus studies him for a beat, then steps back, ceding the space. You can have it. Gasps and snickers ripple through the line. To the onlookers, it looks like submission. Monk grins, emboldened. He snatches Marcus's bread roll off his tray, slow and deliberate. Don't worry. I'll take care of you in here. Marcus watches him, then nods once, calm, almost polite. The nod unsettles Monk more than resistance would have. For a flicker of a second, Monk feels the roles reversed, as if he's the one being studied, weighed, judged. He shakes it off, forcing a laugh. Thought so, he mutters, but the damage is done. In the language of the yard, Marcus has been marked. By nightfall, the plan is set. Drag him into the laundry hall, rough him up, break him, show the block he's nothing. The prison hums with its usual rhythms after dark. The shuffle of boots, the buzz of lights, the clang of gates. In cell block C, men whisper about the show they expect tonight. Word travels fast. Monk's crew is going to baptize the new guy. Marcus sits on his bunk, back straight, hands on his knees. His cellmate, a jittery man named Sykes, can barely sit still. You know what they're saying? Sykes hisses. They're coming for you. Tonight. Marcus doesn't answer. His breathing is slow, measured. You're just going to sit there? Sykes presses. You don't fight back in here. You don't last. Finally, Marcus speaks, voice calm. I'll be fine. Sykes stares at him, baffled. Fine? They're going to kill you, man. Marcus doesn't look away from the wall. They'll try. The certainty in his voice sends a chill through Sykes. For a moment, he wonders who exactly he's sharing a cell with. Just after lights out, two shadows appear at Marcus's door. Lobo and Cray. The CO on duty doesn't even glance up. He's been paid to look the other way. Field trip. Lobo smirks. Boss want a word. Marcus rises smoothly, no protest, no hesitation. He follows him down the corridor, past flickering cameras and indifferent guards, into the laundry hall. The room is vast, filled with industrial washers and the sour smell of bleach. The fluorescent lights hum overhead. Monk is waiting, arms folded, Tiny beside him like a wall. You embarrass me at chow, Monk says, beads clicking on his wrist. Marcus's tone is even. I step back. That wasn't embarrassment. That was courtesy. Monk sneers. Courtesy. You think you're better than me? Marcus tilts his head slightly. I think we've had different teachers. Lobo laughs, but it's nervous laughter. Something in Marcus's voice carries weight. Monk steps closer, looming over him. Tonight, you learn my lessons. He nods at Tiny. The giant cracks his knuckles, stepping forward. Marcus breathes in once. He's been patient, waiting, measuring. But patience has an end. Tiny swings, a haymaker meant to shatter. Marcus doesn't block. It's too obvious. Instead, he pivots just enough, lets the fist skim past, and drives his elbow into Tiny's ribs with surgical precision. The big man grunts, stumbles, air gone from his lungs. Lobo lunges next, knife flashing from under his waistband. Marcus moves faster than anyone expects. His hand clamps Lobo's wrist, twists sharply, and the blade clatters to the floor. In the same motion, Marcus kicks the knife across the hall, far from reach. Cray hesitates, caught between loyalty and survival. Marcus locks eyes with him, calm, steady. Cray falters, taking a step back. Monk snarls. What the hell are you? Marcus's voice is low, steady. The man you shouldn't have touched. He doesn't brag. He doesn't shout. He simply states it like a fact carved in stone. Monk charges, fury replacing reason. His fists fly wild. Marcus blocks, redirects, moves with precision that's too clean, too efficient for a man who should just be another inmate. Every strike Marcus throws lands where it counts. Shoulder, rib, knee, measure to disable, not to kill. Within seconds, Monk is on his knees, breath ragged, beads broken and scattering across the floor. The laundry hall is silent, except for the hum of the lights and the ragged gasps of defeated men. Marcus straightens his shirt, calm as ever. He looks at Monk and speaks one final line. You made two mistakes. First, thinking I was prey. Second, forcing me to prove I wasn't. The laundry hall still reeks of bleach and sweat, but now it carries something heavier. Fear. Tiny wheezes on the floor, clutching his ribs. Lobo curses under his breath, rubbing his twisted wrist. Cray lingers at the edge, eyes darting, searching for a way out of a situation that's already spiraled too far. And Monk, the man who rules the yard, kneels broken, beads scatter like fallen teeth. His chest heaves, sweat dripping from his forehead, eyes wide with rage, and something he never thought he'd feel here. Humiliation. Marcus doesn't gloat. He doesn't need to. He simply stands calm and centered, breathing steady, as though he's not in a fight, but in training. Monk spits blood onto the floor. This isn't over. Marcus's gaze is unshaken. It never is. But next time, choose your battles more carefully. He steps past them, heading for the door, leaving silence and shattered pride in his wake. By morning, the block is alive with rumors. They say he dropped Tiny with one hit. Monk didn't even touch him. He moved like military. Nah, man, he's just lucky. Luck doesn't break ribs with precision. Luck doesn't strip a knife clean from a man's hand without a scratch. Everyone knows it, but no one wants to say it out loud. In a prison where every man has a reputation, Marcus is becoming something else. A myth. Sykes, his cellmate, can't keep it in. You took out Monk, man. Nobody does that. What the hell are you? Marcus just sits on his bunk, rolling his sleeve with that calm, practice motion. Just a man who doesn't like being pushed. But Sykes can't stop staring. There's something in Marcus's stillness that feels more dangerous than Monk's fury ever did. Not everyone is impressed. In the guard station, Lieutenant Harrow leans back in his chair, chewing a toothpick, eyes fixed on the monitor replaying fuzzy footage from the laundry hall. The cameras were supposed to be down, but one caught fragments, shadows, movement, enough to show Marcus dismantling Monk's crew like a professional. Harrow narrows his eyes. That's not a street brawler. That's training. Across the desk, Officer Keene, younger and jumpier, shifts uneasily. Maybe he's just tough. Harrow chuckles darkly. Tough doesn't move like that. Tough swings until someone falls. This, he rewinds, watching Marcus disarm Lobo in a blur. This is discipline. This is muscle memory. Keene lowers his voice. You think he's military? Harrow doesn't answer. He doesn't need to. The thought alone changes everything. Because men like Marcus aren't just inmates. They're problems that attract attention. And attention is dangerous for people like Harrow, who've built careers on corruption. Monk's crew gathers in the yard that afternoon, bruised and silent. The usual swagger is gone. Eyes follow them, whispers trail them. For once, Monk isn't in control of the narrative. He slams his fist on the picnic table. You think I care what they're saying? He humiliated me. That doesn't stand. Not here. Not ever. Tiny winces, ribs still aching. Boss, he's different. He ain't just some fish. Lobo snarls. He's gonna pay. Tonight, tomorrow, I don't care. He's dead. But Cray speaks up, voice low. What if it's bigger than us? What if somebody put him here on purpose? Monk turns on him, eyes blazing. You scared now? Cray swallows hard but doesn't answer. Because scared or not, the thought lingers. What if Marcus isn't just another inmate? That night, in the warden's office, a call comes in. Not the usual bureaucratic chatter. This one bypasses official lines. The voice on the other end is calm, clipped, authoritative. We understand you have an inmate named Marcus Cole. The warden shifts uneasily. Yes. Intake paperwork says assault on an officer. He's awaiting. Expunge that. Do not move him. Do not put him in solitary. And for God's sake, do not let him be harmed. The warden stammers. Who is he? Silence. Then the voice says, he's someone you don't want on your casualty report. Trust me. The line goes dead. The warden sits frozen, hand trembling. Phone still pressed his ear. For the first time in years, he feels out of control. In his cell, Marcus lies awake, staring at the ceiling. Memories flood uninvited. A desert night, gunfire ripping through the silence, the weight of a comrade's body in his arms. The call sign in his earpiece. Shadow 6, move now. He remembers the mission where they said, impossible. He remembers going in anyway. He remembers the faces of the men who never came back. And he remembers a betrayal. The day the system he served turned its back on him, framing him for a crime he didn't commit, leaving him to rot. His jaw tightens. This isn't just about survival. Someone wanted him here. Someone wanted him silenced. And Marcus Cole doesn't forgive betrayal. Harrow meets Monk in a shadowed corner of the block during evening rounds. You had one job, Harrow growls. Break him. Instead, he made you look like a clown. Monk's fists clench. Give me another shot. Harrow shakes his head. No, this isn't about pride anymore. Do you even know who that man is? Monk sneers. Some punk who got lucky. Harrow leans close, voice a dangerous whisper. That punk moves like a ghost I've seen before. Special forces. The kind that doesn't just fight, he erases. Monk blinks, uncertainty cracking through his anger. Harrow continues. Somebody put him here, and if he survives long enough, he'll blow the lid off everything we built. You think your little kingdom matters? He'll bring fire down on all of us. So what do we do? Monk mutters. Harrow's smile is cold. We stop playing games. We make him disappear. The prison is a machine, gears grinding whether men scream or whisper. And inside that machine, Harrow begins moving pieces. He arranges a transfer, unofficial, unlogged, the kind that doesn't leave paperwork. A van, a route, a riot stage is cover. But Marcus senses it. He feels a shift in the air, the way guards glance at him too long, the way inmates avoid his eyes. The storm is coming. He sits on his bunk, hands folded, mind sharp. He isn't afraid. He's preparing. Because Marcus Cole has survived deserts, jungles, and ambushes that swallowed entire units whole. He knows how to wait. And when the time comes, he knows how to strike. As lights dim across the block, a door creaks open. Heavy boots echo in the corridor. 3 guards stand there, Harrow among them, eyes cold. "Cole," Harrow says, "you're coming with us." Marcus rises slowly, calm as ever. But inside he knows this isn't procedure. This is execution. And if they think he's walking into his own grave, they've made their biggest mistake yet. The cuffs bite into Marcus's wrists as the guards march him down the dim corridor. The prison is eerily quiet at this hour, the kind of silence that makes every footstep sound like a gunshot. Harrow leads away, his toothpick clenched between his teeth, smirk plastered across his face. 2 other guards follow close behind, their eyes hard, their grips firm. Marcus doesn't resist. He walks steady, measured. He's been here before. Different uniforms, different faces, same intent. He knows when men are walking him to a door that doesn't lead back. They push him into the back of a transfer van. The air smells of oil and metal. The bench is cold steel against his back. Harrow climbs in with him, sitting across, smirk never fading. The engine rumbles to life, and the van lurches forward into the night. Funny thing, Harrow says, leaning forward, voice low, "Paperwork says you're going to county court in the morning. Trouble is, nobody's expecting you. You won't make it that far." Marcus studies him in silence. His eyes, calm and unwavering, make Harrow shift slightly. For the first time, Harrow feels like he's the one being read, dissected. The van turns sharply, gravel crunching beneath its tires. They're leaving the main road. Marcus notes every bump, every turn, mapping the route in his head. Lobo and Tiny are waiting at the rendezvous point. Harrow's insurance policy. The van doors slam open, night air flooding in. Harrow yanks Marcus out roughly, dragging him into the shadows of an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts. "This is where your story ends." Harrow sneers. Quiet, clean, nobody asking questions. Lobo grins, pulling out a blade. Tiny cracks his knuckles, eager for payback. Marcus exhales slowly, centering himself. They think the cuffs make him helpless. They think 3 against 1 is a guarantee. They think wrong. Tiny lunges first, swinging a massive fist at Marcus's head. At the last moment, Marcus pivots, raises his arms just enough for the cuff's chain to catch Tiny's wrist. He twists sharply. There's a snap, followed by Tiny's howl as his arm buckles. Marcus drives his shoulder into Tiny's chest, sending the giant crashing to the ground. Lobo slashes with a knife, but Marcus sidesteps, the blade slicing air. He spins, hooking the cuff chain around Lobo's wrist, trapping the knife hand. One swift pull, and Lobo stabs himself in the thigh, screaming as the blade buries deep. Harrow curses, reaching for his sidearm, but Marcus is already moving. He whips the chain around Harrow's wrist, yanking the gun away. The weapon clatters across the floor, skidding into the shadows. Marcus slams Harrow against the wall. Cuffs still on, his forearm pressed against the lieutenant's throat. "You should have left me alone," Marcus says, voice low and lethal. Harrow gasps, clawing at Marcus's arm. "You don't know who you're messing with." Marcus leans closer, eyes burning. "No, Lieutenant, you don't know who you're messing with." With a sharp twist, he knocks Harrow unconscious against the wall, letting his body slump to the floor. The warehouse is silent now, save for Tiny's groans and Lobo's ragged breaths. Marcus stands tall, cuffs still on, chest rising and falling steadily. 3 men down, and he hasn't even broken a sweat. He scans the room, locating the gun in the shadows. He picks it up carefully, weighing it in his hand. The feel is familiar, almost comforting, like an extension of himself. He stares at it for a moment, then sets it back down. He doesn't need it, because Marcus Cole is the weapon. Marcus kneels by Harrow and feels for the pulse in the carotid, strong, frantic. He drags Tiny and Lobo into the corner, boots scraping on concrete, tugs a length of nylon strap from a fallen laundry cart, and binds their wrists to a rusted pipe. Their curses bounce off steel and cement. Hey, come on, man. Lobo pants, face slick with sweat, knife still buried in his thigh. I was just following orders. You picked the wrong ones, Marcus says. He rolls Harrow over, plucks a handcuff key from the duty belt, and clicks himself free. The relief is brief. He palms Harrow's phone, wakes the screen. It wants a face. Marcus hauls Harrow upright by the collar and tilts the man's head toward the camera. The lock icon blooms into an open pad. The phone vibrates. A text banner crawls across the top. Unknown. Confirmed delivery. Marcus's eyes narrow. He taps into the thread. The number is masked. The chat set to auto-delete. He snaps a quick screenshot anyway, then kills the auto-delete in settings. A second text arrives from the same account. ETA? Marcus lifts the phone and records a 5-second video of Harrow sprawled on the floor, then flips the camera and lets his own eyes fill the frame, calm, cold, unblinking. He doesn't speak. He sends a clip. 3 dots appear, vanish, appear again. Unknown. Who is this? Marcus types with his thumb. The one you missed. There's a long pause. Unknown. We can fix that. Try. Marcus murmurs and powers the phone down. He pats Harrow down for a spare magazine, finds one, and nudges the lieutenant awake with the heel of his boot. Harrow groans, hands rising defensively before he realizes he's still breathing. Look at me, Marcus says. Harrow obeys despite himself. There's something in Marcus's tone that bypasses ego and lands in the part of a man that recognizes rank. You arrange a ghost transfer, Marcus says. No logs, no paperwork. Who signed the order? Harrow licks split lips. You think I'm talking? You already have. Marcus tilts his head toward the phone. Your handler panicked when I answered. Harrow tries a smirk and fails. You won't make it out of here. Maybe, Marcus says, but you definitely won't if you keep betting on the wrong people. Who is it? Silence stretches. Tiny coughs wetly. Lobo whimpers and yanks against the pipe. Marcus waits, breathing even, gaze steady. The quiet becomes pressure. Finally, Harrow cracks. A consultant, he mutters. Private side. Calls himself Lang. He contracts solution when the state can't act. Full name. Graham Lang. Harrow swallows. Aegis Covenant. Out of Arlington. Marcus files it away. He feels a click in his mind when puzzle pieces meet edge to edge. Aegis Covenant. He's seen that name flicker across black budget annexes. A shell around a shell. Hired knives with corporate letterhead. Why me? Marcus asks. Why now? Harrow stares at the floor. You made someone nervous. The case that put you in here. There's a file that doesn't exist. Your name touches it. Lang said we were doing the system a favor. Marcus's jaw tightens. The system doesn't hire gangs to clean up paperwork. Harrow laughs once, ugly and small. You still don't get it. The system is whoever's writing checks. A siren wails faintly in the distance. Train horns on a freight line that parallels a highway. Marcus checks the time on the phone. 2:37. He has a window, minutes wide, not hours. He pulls the knife from Lobo's thigh in one smooth, practice motion and rips a strip from Tiny's uniform to pack the wound. Lobo screams through his teeth, eyes bulging. Marcus tosses the bloodied blade aside. Why are you helping him? Harrow rasps, incredulous. I'm not, Marcus says. I'm keeping you all alive long enough to answer for this. He drags Harrow to a steel pillar and cuffs him to it. Forearms crossed behind his back. Painful, secure. 2 questions left. Marcus says. Who inside the prison signed for Lang's favors? Harrow's gaze skitters. You already know. The warden? Marcus asks. Harrow's silence confirms more than words. Marcus nods once. And the last question. Who framed me? Harrow's throat works. His eyes, briefly, betray something like pity. You really don't know. Say it. The affidavit came from a federal liaison, Harrow says. Someone with a star on their ID instead of a name. The arresting officer mentioned a code word, Sequoia. That's all I know. The word hits Marcus like a cold wind. Sequoia. He hasn't heard it since a night in Kos province when a missions debrief was conducted in a tent that hummed like a beehive with radios. Sequoia was never written on paper. It was said once, then buried. He leans close enough that Harrow can feel the heat of his breath. If you're lying, I'll find you again. Harrow flinches. I'm not. The train horn blasts again, closer now. Marcus slips into the dark and moves, fluid and silent, along the warehouse's spine. He skirts the bay doors, finds a side exit, and steps into night that smells of pine tar and cold. The sky is a spill of stars. A utility light crackles and strobes. He takes 3 long breaths, maps the perimeter. Chain link fence, razor wire, a cut in the mesh where someone's done this before. Gravel churns under tires. Headlights bloom, sweep the lot, die, then bloom again, 3 short pulses. A signal. Marcus drops to a knee in the shadow of a stack of pallets. 2 silhouettes detach from the darkness between the vehicles. Not guards. Too smooth. Too quiet. They were civilian jackets that hang wrong at the hip, where a weapon rides. A 3rd figure remains in the driver's seat, idling. Door cracked. Radio chatter faint as a memory of rain. Check the package. One of the men says. The 2nd flicks on a flashlight and angles the beam into the warehouse's side door. Empty. Inside, the 1st orders. Now. They vanish into the hall. Marcus flows the opposite direction, keeping the fence line, boots kissing gravel without sound. He reaches the cut mesh, slips through, and crouches in the ditch beyond. The earth is damp. A pair of field mice skitter away in indignation. He lifts his head and studies the road. It snakes west, then hooks south toward the river cut. He needs cover distance, then a phone that isn't Harrow's. He needs a name to put next to Sequoia. He moves. The ditch empties into a culvert under the roadway. He belly crawls through, emerges in weeds, and sprints low toward a stand of scrub pines. Branches claw his sleeves and whisper. He moves with the patience of a man who has waded out a mountain, who has let continents turn under him while he counted breaths. Behind him, voices rise, angry, clipped. A gunshot punches the night, then 2 more, ill-aimed anger spraying at shadows. Marcus keeps going, angling toward the river, where fog is knitting itself into a shawl over the water. At the bank, he kneels, scoops mud, and smears across his face and hands. The cold focuses him. He wades in. The current grumbles around his calves, then his waist. He dives, lets the water take his heat, his scent, and his noise, and lets it carry him downstream past the sweep of any thermal scopes pointed by men who think money buys competence. He surfaces in a clutch of reeds, lungs tight, and listens. The property alarms are awake now, distant sirens, closer shouts, the bite of radios. He smiles without humor. They will look for a desperate man who runs. They are not looking for a patient man who erases. By the time he climbs out near the old rail trestle, night has thinned at the edges. A stray dog noses through trash under the bridge and watches him with the calm indifference of a creature who has seen too much to be impressed. Marcus lifts a palm. The dog sniffs it and wanders off. He needs a phone. He needs eyes and systems that pretend not to be connected. He needs an honest node in a dirty web. There is one person. He crosses the trestle, drops into the rail yard, and goes along a line of boxcars until he finds a security shack. The guard is asleep in his chair, mouth open, radio murmuring about a switching delay on track 12. Marcus slips inside, lifts a handset from the desk phone, and dials a number he memorized 7 years ago and vowed never to use. It rings once. Dispatch! A woman says, voice crisp, unremarkable. Marcus breathes into the phone. I'm calling in an old debt. Silence. Then the voice changes, warmer, wary. Shadow 6. He closes his eyes. It's a name he doesn't let himself hear often. Yes. You're supposed to be dead or retired, she says. Which is it? Neither, he replies. I need a trace. Aegis Covenant, Graham Lang. I need the top of the ladder. Keys click on her end, the sound patient and fast. You're burning bridges, Cole. They burn them first. Fair. A pause. Lang is a front. Real capital flows through something called Orchard Capital Partners. Board seat held by a consultant who used to be a deputy director at a 3-letter. His wife sits on the oversight committee for defense appropriations. Name: Elliot Vance. The name is a hammer on a bell. Vance. Marcus knows the silhouette, not the face, a voice from behind the screen during a debrief that reeked of politics. Vance had been the one to push Sequoia, to shove the op forward when every compass in Marcus's bones said wait. Sequoia, Marcus says. The typist on the other end stops typing. That code name doesn't exist. It does, Marcus says softly, and it got men killed. A long breath. What do you need? A thread I can pull in daylight. Vance's public shell. His weakest link. Wife's charity, she says after a beat. Education fund. Gala tomorrow. Lots of cameras. Lots of press. Send me everything. He hesitates, then adds, and a favor, you're stacking them. I need a package dropped at the city bus terminal, locker 14B. Tools, burner, clothes, size medium, and a badge that opens doors without asking questions. You're asking for a miracle. I'm not picky what you call it. She sighs. Check the locker at 6:30. And Cole. Yeah. Try not to die. It's hell doing paperwork for your kind. The line clicks dead. Marcus sets the receiver down, stares at his reflection in the dark window, mud-streaked, eyes like quiet fire. He scrubs his face with a paper towel, peels the county shirt off, wrings river water from the hem, and puts it back on. It smells like iron and stubbornness. He steps out into a pewter dawn. By the time the warden learns his lieutenant never checked back in, by the time Lang files a report that blames incompetence on subordinates while issuing new orders to erase the evidence, by the time Monk wakes in the infirmary shackled to a bed with a deputy reading him rights in a bored voice, Marcus Cole is already a mile away, moving through a city that doesn't know it's about to be a battleground. At 6:28, he stands in front of locker 14B in a terminal that smells like coffee and detergent and impatience. He spins a combination code written on a utility billing flyer taped to the side of the unit. The door swings open to a neat stack. Dark jeans, a gray Henley, a windbreaker that won't be noticed, a pair of running shoes, a burner phone, a folding multi-tool, a low-profile camera, a thin wallet with an ID that claims he does building inspections for the city. He changes in a bathroom stall, stuffs the county shirt in the trash, and walks out a different shape. The burner buzzes. A single text. Press list plus seating diagram attached. Vance keynote at 1900 hours. Wife introduces him. You'll have 12 to 18 seconds uncontrolled between stage-left curtains and podium. Cameras everywhere. Make them work for you. Marcus lifts his eyes to the terminal's high windows. Morning splits them into slabs of light. He thinks of all the times he entered rooms like a shadow. This time, he will step into the sun. He tucks the phone away and starts walking. The gala hall gleams like another world. Chandeliers dripping gold light, polished marble floors, voices low and practiced. Cameras click as men in tailored suits and women in gowns glide across the space. The smell of perfume and expensive wine masks the rot Marcus knows lies underneath. He blends in with the staff. Windbreaker zipped, ID badge hanging from a lanyard. A clipboard in his hand completes the illusion. He keeps his movements purposeful, invisible, the way he learned to be when shadows were safer than names. At the far end of the hall, banners rise over the stage. Orchard Capital Partners' annual charity gala. In support of education. A lie wrapped in velvet. Marcus scans the seating diagram on the burner. Elliot Vance sits at the head table, his wife beside him, pressed circling like moths to a flame. The man looks older than Marcus remembers, silver streaks in his hair, but the arrogance in his posture is the same. Shoulders back, chin raised, the kind of presence that feeds off rooms like this. Marcus feels the old anger tighten in his chest. Vance was the voice behind Sequoia, the man who signed the order that sent good men into the desert with no backup, no extraction plan, no chance. the man who buried their deaths under necessary sacrifice. And now here he sits, smiling for cameras, selling himself as a patron of learning. Marcus forces his breathing steady. Rage clouds judgment. Tonight requires precision. He moves along the edges, watching, waiting. Security is tight. Mercenaries in tuxedos with eyes too alert, movements too stiff. These aren't local guards. Aegis Covenant. Lang's men. They're scanning the room for threats. And Marcus knows they're not just here to protect Vance. They're here to finish what Harrow failed. At 18:55, the lights dim. The MC steps forward, microphone catching the hush. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mrs. Caroline Vance. Polite applause fills the room as she glides on stage, graceful in a navy gown, pearls shining under the lights. She speaks warmly, her sincerity dripping from every syllable. Tonight we celebrate not only education, but the power of community. None of this would be possible without my husband, Elliot Vance. The applause swells louder. Vance rises, buttoning his jacket, basking in the glow. Cameras flash, capturing him as if he were royalty. Marcus slips closer, weaving through staff carrying trays of champagne. His eyes track the guards. They shift subtly, forming a protective arc too controlled, too suspicious. He positions himself by the stage-left curtain, just as the text instructed. His heart beats steady, not fast. Years of missions trained him for this, to move when others freeze, to breathe when others choke. Vance takes the podium. His voice carries, rich and confident. We are here tonight because we believe in the next generation, because we know education is the root of progress, the heart of democracy. Marcus almost laughs. Democracy? From a man who sold lives for profit. Then he sees it, the flick of a guard's wrist near his earpiece, the subtle signal. Two mercenaries begin moving toward him, cutting through the crowd with fake smiles. They've spotted him. He doesn't hesitate. Marcus slips behind the curtain, climbing the side stairs with silent speed. By the time the mercenaries push through the curtain, he's already on stage. Gasps ripple through the audience as a man in a staff windbreaker appears beside the keynote speaker. Cameras flash wildly, shutter staccato. Vance stiffens mid-sentence. His eyes widen as recognition dawns. Marcus Cole, he breathes. The microphone carries the name across the hall. The crowd murmurs, confused. The name means nothing to them. But to Vance, it means the past has clawed its way into the present. Marcus takes the microphone from the podium, his voice calm, steady. Good evening. Security rushes forward, but Marcus raises a hand, palm out. Before you try, know this. Every camera in this room is recording. Every live stream is already capturing what happens next. And if you put a bullet in me, you'll prove exactly what I'm about to say. The mercenaries freeze. They know the truth in his words. Cameras are a battlefield of their own. Vance forces a smile, though sweat beads at his temple. This man is a trespasser. Someone call the police. No. Marcus cuts in, voice steel. This man is a liar. This man signed an operation that killed American soldiers and buried their deaths under a code name you'll never read in the papers. Sequoia. The hall falls into stunned silence. The word cuts through the chandeliers, through the velvet, through the polished marble. Gasps. Journalists lean forward, hungry. Vance shakes his head, eyes darting. Delusions. This man is unstable. Guards. Marcus steps closer, eyes boring into his. You framed me to bury the truth. You paid gangs, you bought guards, you tried to erase me. But I'm still here. And now so is the truth. The mercenaries hover, uncertain. They weren't hired to fight cameras. The crowd buzzes with confusion, suspicion, outrage. Phones rise, recording everything. Vance raises his hands, attempting calm. Ladies and gentlemen, please, don't listen to this nonsense. Marcus pulls the phone from his pocket and holds it high. Harrow, your lieutenant. He confessed. I have his messages. His handler, Lang, Orchard Capital. Every breadcrumb leads back to you, Elliot Vance. And tonight, the world is watching. The audience explodes into noise, shouts, Gasps, the clatter of chairs. Reporters surge forward, microphones thrust out. Security falters, unsure whether to protect or flee. And for the first time, Elliot Vance looks small. The gala fractures into noise. Gasps, shouts. The frenzy of reporters who smell a story turning into a storm. Marcus holds a microphone steady, one hand open, the other raised with Harrow's phone glowing like a lit fuse. Elliot Vance tries to seize control, politician smooth. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is an intruder. Security. Careful. Marcus says, quiet but commanding. Tell your men to lower their hands. Everyone can see them. Everyone can zoom. Two tuxedoed mercenaries freeze mid-draw, their knuckles whitening around the outlines of concealed pistols. The nearest camera operator pushes in, lens swallowing the space between truth and excuse. 100 phones rise like a forest of glass. Vance forces a laugh. It trembles. You won't hijack this event with conspiracy fiction. Then answer a simple question. Marcus says, why is a private military firm, Aegis Covenant, providing your event security instead of the venue's team? Vance's smile cracks. Donations come with partnerships. Right, Marcus says, like the partnership that put money in a lieutenant's pocket, so a laundry hall could become an execution chamber. He taps the podium, casts the phone screen to the massive LED behind the stage via the venue's open display link. Something the dispatcher texted him 5 minutes ago, along with a 2-word note. Use HDMI. Harrow's thread fills a wall. Mass number. Confirmed delivery. The 5-second clip of Harrow unconscious and Marcus's eyes. Then we can fix that. A reporter from the third row stands. Mr. Vance, who is unknown? Why are your contractors texting a county lieutenant about an inmate transfer? Vance's jaw tightens. Forgery. Deepfake. We live in a time of... The feed switches. Now it's a screenshot of Lang's contact, Graham Lang, Aegis, followed by a call log, then a bank statement, blurred names but clear figures, pours onto the screen, deposits into a shell company, withdrawals sent to a community outreach fund tied to the warden's brother-in-law. Murmurs shift to outrage. Caroline Vance's hands clutch at her pearls. She looks at her husband as if she's seeing through him and not liking what she finds there. Stop this. Vance hisses at someone off stage. A mercenary at stage right moves. It's small, just a 2-step shift meant to close distance. Marcus sees it happen in the reflection of a symbol on the bandstand. He sets the microphone on the podium, turns, and lets muscle memory carry him. The guard reaches for Marcus's elbow. Marcus pivots inside the grip, clamps the man's wrist, and uses the tuxedo's lapel as a lever, walking him 3 steps sideways and down. The man lands face down, arm extended and locked, pain blooming across his shoulder. Marcus releases him before Bones complain. No more hands on me, Marcus says, still calm, still centered. Let this be a contest of facts, not reflexes. The audience applauds, stunned, reflexive. 100 people who didn't come for justice, but suddenly wanted to happen in front of them. Vance looks to the wings. Lang. A man in a black suit appears in the shadow of a balcony. Lantern jaw, expensive haircut. The aura of a man who sells safety while walking behind danger. Lang checks his watch as if bored. His eyes never leave Marcus. Elliot, Lang says, voice smooth and amplified by the room's acoustics. Stop talking. You work for me. Vance snaps. Lang smiles without warmth. Tonight, it looks the other way around. He lifts 2 fingers. 2 more mercenaries begin to flank the stage, and the room's temperature drops a degree. Reporters edge backward. The orchestra members lower their instruments. A cell phone rings somewhere in the back. No one answers. Marcus feels the moment compress. He could run. He could fight. He chooses neither. He picks the microphone up again and steps forward into the lights. I don't want blood here, he says to the room. I want truth, and I want it on the record. He looks straight into camera 2, the one with a red tally light and the local affiliate's logo, and speaks as if the country is across from him at a kitchen table. Years ago, a code name, Sequoia, authorized an operation that should never have been greenlit. No exfil plan. No interagency deconfliction. It was pushed through by people who traded lives for leverage, political, financial, both. Good men died. Then a story was built to bury the bodies under patriotism. He nods toward Vance. This man helped write that story. When I started asking for truth, they framed me. And when framing me wasn't enough, they tried to have me killed. A low, shocked sound ripples through the audience. Even the cynical press look rattled. Lang claps once, slow. Beautiful theater. But you forgot one thing, Mr. Cole. The house always owns a stage. He nods. The house lights slam to black. A surge of sound, shouts, chair legs scraping, a choked scream, fills the dark. For 2 beats, the world is a maze of silhouettes. But darkness is where Marcus learned to read. He moves left under the lip of the stage and counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. On 4, emergency lights hum back to life, painting the room in cold blue. Lang's men are closer, one on each side. Marcus has already stepped off the stage. The first man reaches for him. Marcus traps the arm, redirects, and lets the man's momentum write his own fall into a floral arrangement that explodes petals across the marble. The second draws a compact pistol. Marcus is there before the muzzle levels, palm slicing across the wrist, thumb collapsing the tendon at the base, weapon dropping, a clatter like a gavel. Marcus slides it away with his foot under the stage. Police are en route. Someone shouts. A reporter, maybe, or a staffer who finally found a spine. Not just police. Another voice answers, amplified from the mezzanine. Federal Inspector General. Stay where you are. Marcus turns. He recognizes a silhouette even before the badge glints, a woman with a posture like a drawn bow. Sergeant Vale, out of uniform, but still every inch the law that doesn't bend for convenience. The nameless dispatch voice who pushed him toward the HDMI port is at her shoulder, a tablet tucked against her ribs, eyes bright with controlled adrenaline. Caroline Vance exhales a tremor of relief and then, strangely, grief. The room finds its shape again. Cameras back up on sticks. Guests press along the walls. Mercenaries suddenly uncertain about who signs their checks tomorrow. Vance reinflates. Turns to the crowd with a practiced gesture. You see? We invited transparency. We welcome it. These theatrics only prove the need for her. Enough? Vale says, descending the aisle with 2 plainclothes agents. She speaks into her collar mic. Units, hold outer doors. Nobody in or out without my say. Then to the room. This event is now a federal scene. Remain calm. Keep your hands visible. Lang edges along the balcony, angling for the side stairs. Marcus tracks him subconsciously while facing Vance. 2 problems, 1 podium. Vale stops at the foot of the stage and looks up at Marcus. You could have disappeared. You could have let me, he says. She almost smiles. I don't do let. Then to the room. Mr. Cole, you claim to have material evidence. Marcus holds up the phone. Logs. Messages. Money trails. Names. Upload. The dispatcher says, stepping forward and tapping her tablet. Secure link on your screen. Marcus sends everything. Harrow's videos, Lang's number, the mass account, the bank paths into Orchard Capital's charity laundromat. The LED board flickers again, now displaying a transfer bar that inches across to a chorus of clicking keys as journalists get the same package dropped into their inboxes. Vance sees the floor go out from under him. Panic cracks his mask. He lunges the mic. This is an ambush. Manufactured evidence. Caroline Vance takes a small step away from her husband, as visible as a slap. Sir, Vale says, turning the full authority of a badge and a camera onto him. You are not under arrest yet. You are, however, the subject of an active investigation into procurement fraud, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and material support to extrajudicial violence. Sit down. Vance's mouth works. He sits. Up on the balcony, Lang reaches a stair ahead and finds Marcus waiting at the bottom. You're quick, Lang says mildly. You're sloppy, Marcus replies. Lang glances at the nearest exit, calculates, and drops the pretense. You don't have the stomach to finish this, Cole. You never did. That's why men died while you hesitated. Marcus steps closer, voice low enough to keep the microphones on the main floor starved. Men died because your kind call risk a strategy, because you steal words like duty to justify profit, because you sent us in blind, then sold the blindfolds as memorabilia. Lang's smile dims. The world runs on necessary evils. No, Marcus says, it runs on cowards who hide behind that sentence. Lang moves first, a shove meant to create space for a run. Marcus absorbs it, pivots, and stacks Lang against the wall with one forearm under the jaw and one hand pinning the gun he didn't quite manage to draw. For a breath, they are cheek to cheek, two versions of power in a narrow stairwell. Marcus could end it right here in 100 ways. He doesn't pick any. He simply holds. Walk, Marcus says, releasing just enough pressure to allow motion. You're going to answer questions with a microphone and a lawyer present. You're going to live. That's the punishment. Lang tries for bravado. You think prison scares me? I think daylight does, Marcus answers. They descend together. By the time they reach the floor, Vale has cleared a path. The agents take Lang, cuffing him with a competence that reads as relief. Cameras drink it in, the fall of the man who thought he owned the stage. Vale turns to Marcus. You coming in with us? Marcus shakes his head. You don't need me for this part. We might. The dispatcher says softly, like someone who knows a ledger of debts on both sides. There'll be hearings. I'll be there, Marcus says, but not tonight. Vale studies him, then nods once, an officer salute without a hand. We'll get the others. Warden, Harrow, anyone who took $1 to look away. And the men who never had a chance to speak? Marcus asks. Her eyes are steady. We'll say their names. He steps back to microphone one last time, the room falling into a hush that feels earned. I didn't come here to be a hero, he says. I came here to stop a lie. If you wear a badge, wear it clean. If you hold a purse, hold it honest. And if you have power, remember it was given to you to protect people, not to hide behind when you hurt them. He looks out over the guests, some ashamed, some angry, some already tweeting their alignment with the winner. Don't mistake silence for surrender. Don't mistake humility for weakness. And don't mistake a uniform, any uniform, for the right to humiliate. Justice isn't performance. It's a habit. Practice it. The room answers not with applause, but with that deeper sound a crowd makes when something heavy has been set down where everyone can see it. Then, slowly, hands come together. Not for spectacle. For relief. Marcus leaves by the service corridor, hat pulled low, windbreaker zipped. Outside, the night air tastes like rain and endings. A siren Doppler is passed. He blends into the city the way he always has. Not by vanishing, but by belonging to no single place long enough to be caught. By morning, headlines braid his name with Vance's. Orchard Capital stock pauses it open. Aegis Covenant's website goes dark. The warden calls in sick and is met at his driveway by 2 unmarked sedans. Harrow's lawyer holds a press conference that lasts 6 minutes and ages him 6 years. Monk is moved from infirmary to booking in shackles that fit less like power and more like punctuation. A week later, Vale sits under harsh lights in a committee room built for television and tells the truth clean. The dispatcher types while microphones blink. Clips from the gala roll behind her. Lang led away. Van staring at nothing. Marcus's word projected on the wall, like a reminder someone refused to erase. In prisons across the state, cameras that used to glitch discover a talent for continuity. Contracts are canceled. Grants are audited. A charity that called itself an education fund finds its board educating itself about subpoenas. And in a modest kitchen, a caseworker named Hollis, who never asked to be a recurring character in the sort of story that breaks men, finds an envelope with no return address. Inside, a single sentence on a typing ribbon older than the ink in most pens. You did the right thing when no one was looking. He frames it and doesn't say a word. Marcus Cole walks a quiet block beneath a dawn that hasn't made up its mind yet. A stray dog pads beside him for a while, then veers off toward a bakery where kindness sometimes spills from the back door. Marcus pauses at the corner and listens, not for footsteps behind him, For the sound a city makes when something rotten has been cut out, and the wound is deciding whether to heal. He smiles once, small, a private ritual for the ghosts who deserve better. Then he keeps moving. I hope you enjoyed the story. Don't forget to share it with your friends and hit subscribe so you never miss the next one. In the meantime, I've handpicked 2 other stories I think you'll love. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.